The Sandy and Toddcast is a Mindgarden media podcast in association with
Screw You, Todd
Productions. Another week, another Sandy and Toddcast, and this one's a look back. We've been doing these on and off where we kind of go back and we look back at some of our early podcasts, bringing them to light once again, and this is one of those.
Yeah, it's sort of a, what did I call it? A reboot.
Yeah.
It's a reboot. It's a retro episode. I think it's a really good idea because when we were first starting off, we're just sort of getting into our swing of things, and maybe everybody wasn't listening back then. So this is a great way to bring some of our favorite episodes back out into the limelight and let everybody hear them.
This one's a good one. This is Season 4, Episode 11. We're calling it St. Nazianz Reboot, and it's next on the Sandy and Toddcast.
Tarot time. If you're listening to this podcast, the divine messages are definitely for you. Let's combine science and magic, shall we? Root cause analysis, business planning, counseling, and good old-fashioned intuitive tarot readings so we can improve your near future circumstances by addressing your present scenarios. Please follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. For more in-depth tarot consultations, please book your readings at positivetarotwisdom.com. Infinite love and blessings for everyone.
Broadcasting from two very different yet magical places not found on any map. Get ready to discuss the strange, weird, ghostly, crazy, spooky, and odd things that take place around us each and every day. All while having a little bit of fun. This is the Sandy and Toddcast.
St. Nazianz Reboot is what it's called. She is Sandy.
He is Todd.
This is the Sandy and Toddcast. Welcome to it.
Welcome to it, and we are rebooting. We're rebooting today. Is that a real word?
Reboot? Well, I don't know if
rebooting.
I don't. That sounds like something that happened out in the Old West when somebody's boots blew out. They got rebooted.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I'm cracking myself up today. We're rebooting. It's stressful. I don't know. I'm having a stressful day. So
yes, and
this is actually enjoyable.
When we first got on this, I'm thinking to myself, I don't know what kind of mood she's in, because usually with Sandy you can tell right away. There's either a smile on her face and she's really excited, or there's something else going on. And today there seemed to be something else, but you seem to be a little bit better.
I'm stressed. Well, when I talk to you, I feel better. I'm just stressed. I'm just don't pat yourself on the back. No, but when I talk to you, I feel better. It's always good. No, I'm just stressed. I've got a lot of work and a lot of stuff going on. I went out yesterday for the afternoon with Dave, and we had a really nice afternoon. And we'll talk all about that on an upcoming episode. And so I didn't do probably as much work as I should have yesterday. I actually just laid around, and then it seems like everything just came at me at once. So a little stressed today, but doing okay.
So I had a really nice time earlier this weekend too. Something that I have not done for quite some time is get out and go out. And Friday night went out and hung with Drew.
Yeah.
From Dudes with Brews on a Porch. And we actually had some brews, not necessarily on a porch, but I had quite a few brews. And it was a great time. Had a lot of fun with he and Carissa. And here's the problem. What I realized, there's a reason why I don't do that anymore. And that is because the day after, now I was not hungover. There was not a hangover.
Well,
there was a little sinus headache going on, that kind of thing. But we were drinking beer. We went to a brewery, which did we go down there that time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I was just going to say, I saw that. First of all, you didn't even tell me you were going. I had to find out on Facebook.
It just kind of happened.
How does that happen?
It just kind of happened. There was a little plan for it to happen, but you know how things are with me and going out. Things usually fall apart and don't happen, so I didn't say anything about it.
So I see it on Facebook, and the first thing I see is Fifth Ward Brewing, and my heart sunk, and I was like, I wish I was there right now, because I really liked that place when we went there, and it was a lot of fun. And I was like, I want to be there with my people. But then, so so then I had messaged you and asked you a question, and you didn't answer me until like 4 hours later. And I said, "Are you drunk?" And all I get was, "Yes." So I was like, "Yay!" I was like so excited because everybody needs to go out once in a while.
I was having problems. Had some problems with my phone. And so what really wasn't working well that night. In fact, since then, I've gotten a different phone. But so I wasn't responding because I wasn't getting the messages that I was supposed to be getting. But so here's the thing about Fifth Ward. And you know, this was not planned to talk about, but I think this is very interesting. So there is a specific look of the clientele at Fifth Ward, which I fit very well. I've got the beard, right?
Yep.
I'm not. I'm a bigger guy, so I've got that going for me. I own some flannel. And so here's the thing about this place. When you walk in, and you know this because you wear glasses.
Yeah.
If you walk in and weren't wearing your glasses, it would be very hard to spot which people, you know, like Drew and Carissa. Drew looks a little bit like me. We have a very similar kind of look, glasses and beard and all that kind of stuff. So when I walked in, if I didn't have my glasses on, there were like 4 or 5 different couples that could have been them. And even when we were sitting there with Carissa and Drew, there was at least one couple behind us and several couples ahead of us on the wall that could have been them. That's, you know, so.
It's too funny. You know, it's funny about that place because I liked it. I thought it was very cool. Now, first we went to the Ruby Owl. That was when, oh God, there were probably 12 or 13 of us all together. Yep. Everybody came out. And then it was just a handful of us that ended up going to Fifth Ward. And I really liked it. And what was so cool about it is they have this huge back patio.
Right.
And it kind of looks really like, you know, city metropolitan, like really relaxed, and it's got furniture out there and everything.
Hip, kind of like industrial.
Yeah, it's like so cool. But then now your description of it doesn't really match that.
I think it does. I think it was like a lot of hipsters. I think just like a lot of hipster wannabes kind of hang out there. And then after we were there and had several beers, and I was already starting to see a little bit double. Then we went to Ruby Owl and we had something to eat after getting drunk. So then we went there and there was an interesting table of people there that I was having fun making fun of. And I had avocado fries, which is not, I mean, I like avocado and I like fries. Right. Not something I would normally pick, but when you've had a couple, you choose. It doesn't matter. And so I ate the hell out of that basket of stuff. And so then the next day, you've got the beer going around in your guts. You've got the avocado going around in your guts.
I don't even want to think about it.
So you can just about imagine the sounds that were coming from my stomach area. But it was a great time. And, you know, it was a lot of fun. And I can't do that all the time.
No, neither anymore. But you know what? I'm really glad that you went out because besides my jealousy of my people being all together and I'm not. But everybody, I think, needs to go out once in a while. It's been a rough 2 years. Before COVID hit, I was going out. Dave and I were going out every weekend. We were out every Friday and Saturday night, you know, doing stuff, going out to a bar with people, you know, representing the radio station and stuff. We were out at every community event. And then all of a sudden, all of it just stopped. And while I'm not necessarily leaning in the direction of going back to the way it was pre-COVID, I do think it's important to get out and have some fun once in a while. And even though we may not, as, you know, as empaths, as, you know, people who feel so much energy, even if we don't necessarily look forward to it or want to do it in the moment, once we're out, I think we relax and have a little bit more fun. And I think it's good for us mentally and emotionally to get out with our friends once in a while. So I'm really glad that you went. I was really happy that you were out.
It was a lot of fun.
We just have to figure out when we come out in June, maybe on Thursday night, we can just have something really laid back. And I know Drew and Carissa are expecting the baby in June. So I don't know how available they'll be, but maybe we can do something really laid back and casual.
There was actually a conversation that night about inducing labor right then and there so she could have a beer.
Well, you know, make her jog around a little bit. I don't know.
She had a root beer is what she had. So.
Well, I don't even like beer. I don't even like beer. I had, what did I have that night? I had a seltzer.
Yeah, they've got some seltzers there and stuff like that. But they do have good beer. It's just, my body reacts to it in a way that doesn't make me very happy. But
I love you. I'm glad that you went out, though. That was really good. I was very excited for you.
Shall we talk about like the stuff we were going to talk about? I'm going to set my story aside because it doesn't matter. I just took up several minutes of the podcast.
No, you need to tell your story though. You need to talk about your story.
I'll just throw this out there. This came across. We get something called show prep, which is where they get all the weird stuff that happens around the world and they send it out to radio stations and TV stations so they have stuff to talk about.
Right.
So this is a story, and I thought of you right away when I saw this.
Oh boy.
4 years ago, a Scottish man by the name of Gregor Stewart purchased a doll in California. It's a ventriloquist doll.
Oh.
Now, the seller apparently was very eager to get rid of this thing, and now this Gregor Stewart knows why. Stewart's 51. He claims the doll is haunted. Says its mouth opens and closes by itself. And also, he named the doll Uncle Herb, and he thinks the doll closes his mouth when he's happy and opens it when he's angry about something.
Oh, my God.
They actually say that they spoke to the spirit in the doll through a spirit box. Now, when I was young, I don't know why. My sister had a ventriloquist doll. I think growing up, we had a record of a ventriloquist act, from like the 60s when ventriloquists were kind of a thing. You'd see them on variety shows. There was actually an album that came out. We had that. But for some reason, I got a doll one year for Christmas. And I can't remember the thing's name, but it was creepy and would sit in the corner of my room. Now, if you remember this, my mom, I don't know if she was just trying to scare the fuck out of me or what, but she would make us watch scary movies before bed. Like we would watch Dracula and shit like that, and none of us would sleep, right?
Go mom.
Yeah. She had a clown painting in my room, a hobo clown painting that hung on my wall with big fucking eyes that would watch you wherever you were.
Nope.
And then she got me a ventriloquist doll. So, I mean, I think ventriloquist dolls are very creepy and very scary and all that kind of stuff. But this guy claims this one is actually haunted. So,
well, first of all, I don't like dolls anyways. I've never been a doll person. I like to watch the shows about, like the ghost shows. I don't mind watching the ghost shows about haunted dolls that they are investigating things. That's fine. But me personally, I don't like the whole idea of dolls because I do believe that they can be vessels just like anything else can be. And I just feel too nervous about the whole idea. And to try to communicate with one through a spirit box completely creeps me out. That's totally not something I would ever do. And I wouldn't buy a ventriloquist doll to begin with because why would you? They're horrible. They're creepy looking, and I don't like them.
Yeah, I don't know. I think back to the things my mom made us do as kids, and I just feel like don't mess with things. If you have even this coming from her, don't mess with things, and she's out there,
Seriously though, if you have an inkling that something, why would you buy? Okay, so there's this gentleman and his twin brother, the Booth brothers. Some of you guys in the paranormal world may have heard of the Booth brothers. They did a lot with sci-fi.
They're creepy on their own.
Yeah, well, they're really cool people. They do these horror movies and they do all of this kind of documentary stuff. I actually have one of their DVD documentaries that they had on Sci-Fi. And Christopher St. Booth has auctions regularly. As a matter of fact, I just bought a beautiful pendulum from him. I'll have to show you. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's amethyst and silver. It's beautiful. I just got it on one of his auctions. And in his auctions, he has a lot of dolls that are said to be haunted that people buy up. And I'm like, if you could see me, I'm making the sign of the cross with my fingers. I'm like, nope, no way. Give me the pendulum. Give me the tarot cards. I'm fine with that, but I will not touch anything, especially if somebody says that it's haunted,
right?
That it's a vessel for a spirit. Why would you want that?
And why? But here's the thing. This is what bothers me about them. Why would you even put that up for sale? If it's a haunted doll, why would you even put it up for auction?
I have no idea. It's just, I don't know. But there are people who love that stuff. And if that's your thing, that's your thing. But that's just not my thing. Like and don't get me wrong, absolutely no disrespect to either of the Booth brothers, because they are like amazing. Like they're great. But I
find them a little creepy.
I
do.
Wouldn't.
I do. I find them creepy.
I wouldn't, not in a million years. So nope. But I will give a quick plug to a show that I've been watching. Dave and I have been watching, and I didn't have high hopes for it. I'm telling you right now, I had zero high hopes for it. It's called Ghost Town Terror. It's on Discovery Plus. And it's got this guy named Tim Wood, who is somewhat known. He's been on a few shows over the years on the ghost shows. He's been a paranormal investigator for quite a few years, maybe 20 years now. He does a lot of demonic stuff. And he's in this show about a woman and her 3 children, pretty much adult children. I think the youngest child is 15. The youngest is 15. And they bought this, it's hard to describe. They bought this ghost town.
Okay.
In Montana, Anaconda, Montana. And it's not an actual town. What it is this woman who owned it before found all of these buildings from other ghost towns and brought them together
Gotcha.
into one.
This person built a ghost town.
Yes.
Gotcha.
She built a ghost town, and then this woman bought it. She lived in, I think it was Oregon or Washington, and she moved down with her kids. And it's called Gunslinger Gulch. And what they did was they have animals, they have horses and stuff. There's a church, there's an old saloon, there's a couple of houses, a log cabin, all kinds of different things from from different ghost towns. And they put them together and they made it into almost like it's a ranch. It's like a bed and breakfast.
Did you just say bread and breakfast?
Bed and breakfast. No, you always make fun of me.
I'm pretty sure you said bread and breakfast.
No, I said bed and breakfast. Although now I want some bread and breakfast.
I think she said bread and breakfast. We'll have to listen back to that.
But so anyways, they've been having a lot of really bad activity for the past few years. And it's kind of pumped up. And so they're all terrified. And I had no really good expectations for it, because it already right off the bat in the beginning, it reminded me of, what was that one that Nick Groff did? It was like the whole town was haunted. I can't remember the name of it, but that to me was pretty scripted, and I wasn't a big fan of it. It was interesting to watch, but this one though, I thought it was going to be like that. This one's a little bit different. There's like 3 episodes so far. Every Friday night, they put a new episode up, and we've watched all 3 of them, and it's actually really good. And I recommend it to everybody, because sometimes you see those titles and you think, oh, God, this is going to be another one of those weird scripted Ghost Adventures things. But it's really, really good. So I recommend it. It's low key, and it's shot from the perspective. They have a medium that comes in. And it's Tim Wood and then this other woman named Sapphire. And they really try hard to figure out what the heck's going on.
So the name Sapphire, though, Sapphire, if your parents name you Sapphire, there's only 2 professions you can get into. You can be a medium or a stripper. And that's about it.
Well, she's not, as far as I know, she's not either. But,
okay. I thought she was. I thought she was the medium. Okay.
The medium is different. Yeah. So I don't know.
Okay. Or 3 jobs you could have. You could own a haunted ranch.
No.
Whatever. There is, if you like that kind of stuff, there is in Fond du Lac here, there's something called the Galloway House and Village. And what it is the Galloway house from the Galloway family. And it's a big Victorian house that you can tour. But then they pulled in all these buildings from the area, like a church and like an old blacksmith shop and all that. And there's this little village that you can kind of tour as well. And so that would kind of be up your alley to go see that while you're in town.
It probably would be. You know, I don't know how good of an idea it is to bring different buildings from different ghost towns with different histories.
Well, of course.
And different tragedies.
Seems...
Like, I don't know, but it makes sense that they basically live in the old church, but you can stay in any of the buildings, and almost all of the buildings have activity in them, and some of them are really not good energy. And so it's a really good show.
So why isn't that? I'm going to want you to be honest about this.
Mm-hmm.
Have you and Dave discussed the fact that you want to go visit it?
No.
Okay.
No. Although I did look it up.
Of course you did.
That's how I found the name of it, is I did look it up Montana is not like my number one place. Like, I want to go to Colorado. We actually, you'll understand this. Actually, we were thinking about doing a storm chaser vacation some year where you can go for a week and you can chase tornadoes and stuff.
That is just basically walking in a different black mist is basically what you're doing on something like that.
I don't know. I was in one when I was a kid. It wasn't a huge one. It was either an F0 or an F1, but I was in one as a kid, and it's just something you never forget. And I've always been fascinated by tornadoes. Not that I want to live in like a tornado alley, but I've always been fascinated. So.
Sure.
Anyways, but one thing I do want to say before we get into the St. Nazianz episode, and the St. Nazianz episode wasn't too long, but I think it's important for us to bring it back so everybody can hear the story. We were thinking of trying to get out there to visit St. Nazianz when we come out, but I don't know if we'll have time this time. We'll put it off till the next time we come out. But anyways, I found, speaking of all this weird stuff, there is a lot. I wouldn't have known this if I hadn't found it. There is a lot of stuff of having to do with Ed Gein on eBay.
No way.
Yes, way. And some of it is, now the reason I was thinking about it was because I was thinking I had another, not a vision, it was more like a dream. I just had another dream that we were in Plainfield again the other night.
Okay.
And so I was just kind of looking around Ed Gein stuff when I was bored. And I found this. Here's some of the stuff that's for sale right now, literally right now on eBay, and the prices that they're asking for it. There is an Ed Gein digging up his mother's grave model kit on eBay. And the starting bid is $149.
So is this like a Lego model kit or what?
It's literally, it looks to me like a plastic model kit.
Oh my God.
So remember when you were a kid and you'd have like the plastic car models and things like that? That's what it looks like. It's got a body. It's got a shovel. I'm not kidding. There's also an Ed Gein action figure starting at $35.
Does it look like him, or is it just a random action?
It does kind of. Okay. It does kind of. You know, no action figure ever really looks like who they say it is. It's hilarious. It's like the wrestling characters, but it does kind of. There's souvenir dirt from Ed Gein's property up for $25. Now, if I had known that,
I was just going to say, you could have made some money. You could have made some money. I could have made some money because you two babies sat in the car and I was the one who went on the property and was looking around and stuff. Posted. No trespassing means posted. No trespassing.
There was nobody around, and I wasn't going to travel thousands of miles to get to Plainfield, Wisconsin, and not go on Ed Gein's property.
There were people driving right around there, and they knew what we were up to. Anybody parked along the road in front of where Ed Gein's house was is up to no good.
I wasn't up to no good. I just wanted to see it. But I actually, because I did that, I actually got a good idea of where the house actually did stand.
Right.
I do think I have a really good idea of where the house stood. There is an Ed Gein bobblehead. You can get that beauty for $89.99. There is a comic book. It's called Ed True Gein. And it's a copy of the True Gein #1 from 1993, signed by the artist and writer Pat Gabriel. That's $44.99. You can save 10%, though. That's the 10% off price. It was $49.99. That one's on sale. I know you're shaking your head, but this is hilarious. There's Ed Gein, the musical soundtrack on CD. There was a musical called Ed Gein.
Who's writing a musical about Ed Gein?
It says Ed Gein, the musical, is a comedy about the hilarious hijinks of our favorite Plainfield ghoul. It premiered in Wisconsin in 2010. You can get that baby for $19.71.
I don't remember that musical.
I don't think anybody does. It was probably at some like little playhouse somewhere. Ed Gein, the musical. I wonder if there's anything on YouTube about it. Well, I'll have to look. But anyways, I thought everybody would enjoy that because we had some clearly interesting adventures in Plainfield, Wisconsin while we were visiting the Ed Gein gravesite and property, etc., etc.
Here's the thing that I think of every time I talk to you. I know you're a busy girl. I know you do a lot of work and all that, but I think you've got too much free time. And the reason why I say that is because you're always finding these weird shows about haunted ghost towns, and you're always looking up Ed Gein shit. And, you know,
It's what I do. It's what I do. You know what? I will say this, though. I think Ed Gein to me is one of the most prolific and fascinating serial killers in American history. He just is. And actually us going there in person and then the experience we had after the fact where we both dreamed about it at the same time, the visions. I think that it's just things like that affect you. It's like the first time I went whale watching, I was like, it was like a life-changing experience for me, and I did it like 3 more times. You know, so you're lucky I'm not trying to get us back into Plainfield in June. You and Lisa should hang out more because she's really into serial killers too. I don't know if you know that. I didn't know that. I love true crime and stuff, and I have Audible, so I listen to all the true crime. Do you see what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen? Just too much time on her hands. She's got time to listen to true crime and stuff. I do that at night when I'm laying in bed. I just listen before I go to sleep. That's all I need. No wonder you have like fucking nightmares and stuff like that. All right, time for us to go back in time here a little bit. I guess, is this going to be self-contained? The story of St. Nazianz and why we talked about is all in there? This was wonderful. You produced this so beautifully, and you even had a music background with it, and it was so cool. So this is a treat because St. Nazianz, again, we were trying to get it into our schedule, but we decided to go up to Washington Island instead. So probably not this trip, but the next one. But this is a great bit of information for anybody interested. Here we go. Full into it. Season 4, episode 11. This is St. Nazianz Rebooted. This podcast's big feature is our Twisted Towns. It's time for one of those. And I got to pick the town. And I don't know this for a fact because we don't have any rules. But I'm assuming that both of us will pick towns that are kind of in our state or around our area, towns that we have a lot of knowledge about. Right. So you picked the town you live in, kind of grew up in Utica, right? Right. And I picked a town that I've never been to before, really. But when I kind of did some research on this town came up, and I actually have a little connection with this town and a little story to share of my own that's kind of connected with it. And actually the actual location, I have a little bit of a story to share with. I can't wait. I'm very excited. When you told me, I had never heard of this town. And when you told me about it, I don't like to, regardless of whether I'm going into an investigation or we're just going to do something like this, I don't want to know too much. I don't want to go into anything with a preconceived notion. So I Googled the town name and got about 8,000 hits, and I just kept seeing haunted and ghosts and all kinds of things. So I closed the webpage, and I'm like, I cannot wait for this. I'm so excited. All right, let's do it. It is my Twisted Town. Welcome to Twisted Towns.
The small town of St. Nazianz in Wisconsin is said to be cursed by the heretic priest of the Catholic mystic cult that founded it in 1854. The town of St. Nazianz is believed to be one of the most haunted places in Wisconsin. It was founded by a rogue priest who, upon his death, is believed to have cursed the town he built. Throughout the years, natural disasters and numerous accounts of bizarre, unexplained phenomena have helped keep that legend alive. Father Ambrose Oswald was fleeing religious persecution when he came to Wisconsin in 1854. The Roman Catholic Church had suspended him from his duties in the parish of a small town in the Black Forest of Germany due to, quote, mystical, prophetic, and heretical works, end quote. When Oswald left, the congregation uprooted and followed him to the United States. They made their way to Wisconsin, where a 1920s newspaper article reported a divine white heifer led the group to the site that would become St. Nazianz. The community thrived there for many years. They called themselves the Association, agreeing to share everything in common and work without pay. But strange things began to happen when Oswald fell sick in 1873. A man named Anton Still stayed at Father Oswald's side while he was on his deathbed. He wrote, "A number of times I've observed that he, with closed eyes, when there was no one else in the room but I alone, would extend his hands in blessing, and then, with his hand, signal someone away, and yet I saw no one in the room." Throughout the night of February 26th, as Oswald lay dying, there were reports of mysterious pounding on the walls of his room, as well as residences throughout the town. The sound stopped when Oswald died the following morning. A judge from Manitowoc came to view Oswald's body the day before the funeral. He was taken aback by the liveliness of the corpse, warning not to bury it because Oswald was not dead. Oswald's tomb had not been completed yet, so his coffin was placed on view in a crypt beneath the high altar of the old St. Ambrose Church. The coffin was reopened on April 29th for examination before it was to be placed in the completed chamber. A priest by the name of Father Mutz, along with a group called the Oswald Sisters, noted that his body had not decayed, and there was no odor of corruption. Oswald's eyes had sunken in, but his skin had a lifelike complexion. His hair and fingernails were growing. They washed his face and noted that it served to give him an even more natural complexion. The next day, 63 days after his death, Oswald was finally sealed in his coffin and moved into the completed burial vault. The coffin was opened again October 4th, 1926, when it was being moved into a new stone mausoleum below Loretto Hill. Local health officer Dr. L.W. Gregory, as well as other members of the clergy, observed through a glass cover that Oswald's corpse was still in remarkably good shape after 53 years. His skin had become shriveled and sallow, but his body and vestments were still very much intact. The iron on his coffin had rusted and fallen away long ago. The Salvatorian priests and brothers arrived at St. Nazianz in 1896 to continue what Oswald had started. Oswald remains in the mausoleum at the base of the hill, overlooking a cemetery full of priests. Legends of a Catholic mystic cult whose secret practices drove them from their home in Germany to find St. Nazianz still persist today. So there you go. That is the story of St. Nazianz.
That's crazy.
It is crazy.
And what is interesting, though, to me, that immediately, now I was born, raised Catholic. What is really interesting to me, can you see Spike trying to get up on my lap? What's really interesting to me is that there are many stories of saints with incorrupt bodies over the years.
Yeah. The story, so it starts off it's a crazy story because here's a priest and his congregation who are thrown out of the Roman Catholic Church because they say that they're doing stuff they shouldn't.
Right.
Come to America, find a place in Wisconsin, and basically create almost, listen, it's almost a little bit of a cult. They're living their lives differently than most people in this country at that time, where they were kind of working together as a group.
That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah, almost like a cult.
Yeah.
And when somebody calls them the Oswald sisters, and we're talking about nuns here, a little odd. Why would a congregation, think about any pastors or priests that you've had in your life, leaders, teachers, whatever. Would you drop your life in one country and follow them to another country in order to stay with them? It's weird.
That's very cult-like. And, I will say that I've seen instances where, there is such devotion to someone who you believe is powerful. All you have to do is look at the devotion Medjugorje in the Catholic religion. People go there by the thousands upon thousands today. That's devotion.
Yeah.
And I think that it's quite a parallel to a cult. It really is, because it runs the same kind. And people will say, "Oh no, it doesn't," but really, in a lot of ways, religion has some of those same ideas as does the cult. And it is very cult-like to know that you would go across an ocean to a land you've never been to and follow this priest, not knowing what you were going to get when you were there.
So Oswald dies, and what happens over a period of time is that the congregation kind of starts falling apart. The town starts falling apart because he was the one who kind of started the town. So in 1995, the Salvatorians, which were a group out of Rome, send Father Francis Jordan to come over. Now he's a priest with that church, and he's from Germany, but he comes over, he sees the land, and they decide to buy it. So they buy the land that was owned by the church. And they built a seminary. First of all, they finished the church because the church itself had not been finished yet. They finished the church. They actually built a seminary there in 1906. So over the years, not only is this weird background there, but now there's a seminary and there's priests being churned out, from the seminary. 1939 is kind of the height of the seminary. Things are going well. A lot of people are going to school there. But what happens is other seminaries start popping up in Wisconsin, and it loses its favor as the place to go to become a priest. Over the years, of course, lots of reports of abuse, not only to the young men, but also the nuns as well. A lot of abuse reports. So in 1960, they can't continue as a seminary. There's not enough money coming in to do it. They change into a co-ed school for folks that maybe are down on their luck, who need schooling. This just
seems like it's getting worse and worse to me.
It is actually. So it changes over to a co-ed school. They still run it, but it's not a seminary anymore. So again, more reports of abuse. And then in the latter part of 1960, JK Prep, it becomes JFK Prep, named after John F. Kennedy, and becomes a prep school. So it's co-ed. Again, more abuse stories. And in 1970, it closed down for good. It couldn't continue on anymore, so it was closed down. And a gentleman by the name of Jerry Slavic buys it. Just one guy buys this whole campus. It's not just the church, but there's these big, huge buildings that were seminaries and buildings that became workshops and classrooms and all that. This whole compound is purchased by one guy.
Wow.
And he says he purchased it because the church was mainly still intact, very little decay in the church. While some of the other buildings had fallen into decay, the church is still, to this day, in very, very good shape, even though it hasn't been kept up, which is also kind of weird.
Yeah, definitely.
So you have all this going on. Paranormally, a lot of people, especially in the school, in the seminary, have seen shadows, have heard voices, all the stuff you would typically hear during a paranormal investigation of a place like this.
Right.
So that has continued on after all these years, and of course the abuse and all that went on there. It's not just men or women, but they get all sorts of audio and stuff like that out of that location. Now, I know that our group that I'm a part of looked into going there, and they just wouldn't have anything to do with us. But I do know that some groups have investigated there and just come up with some crazy stuff. But if you go to that location, lower on the hill, in front of the church, in front of this big complex, is the mausoleum of Father Oswald. That still sits there today. And there's tons of reports of the town being haunted, tons of reports of people who still kind of favor the occult there because of things that have been passed down through generation to generation. It's a freaky town.
It certainly doesn't surprise me. The mausoleum, can you actually, I know that sometimes they will actually keep them on display, for lack of a better term. A lot of the saints are kept on display, the ones that have incorrupt bodies. Saint Bernadette, for example, can you view him, or is he in a closed mausoleum?
He's in. I think the mausoleum door you can see through if I've seen pictures that are correct, but he's not on display, obviously. But you can see his. I believe you can see his coffin in there. I could be wrong on that, but I think that's the case.
It wouldn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me at all to see that there is occult activity that goes on there. There is, just based on the pure history of the place, it doesn't surprise me that there is activity throughout the town. We just worked on a case where...
That's correct. We did.
There was a lot of negative energy, residual and intelligent energy left over from a town that had a lot of history of the church, abuse in the church of both the nuns and of children.
Yep.
And we saw firsthand what the result of that can be. So it doesn't surprise me that there's a lot going on there. I mean, you've got this priest who brings these people over in a cult-like fashion. They set up essentially their own town, their own way of life, they call themselves a certain name. The association. It sounds like a really bad gangster movie, and then you've got a seminary, and then you've got a school for kids who maybe didn't get the luck of the draw in life. And that's just a lot. Now you're talking teenagers, too. I mean, look at the energy that children and teenagers can generate. We talk about poltergeists. A lot of poltergeists are found in homes with teenage girls because of the energy that they can create a poltergeist.
Yep.
So you've got all of this turmoil and all of this craziness and abuse, and God only knows what was going on in that town while this priest was alive.
Right. Well, exactly.
I just can't even imagine how. I mean, I have to dig deeper into it. Now I have to, because I want to know what the heck. Can you imagine moving to St. Nazianz, Wisconsin, and living amongst all of this craziness?
Well, here's my story now of my, I guess, brush with St. Nazianz, because I growing up traveling that part of Wisconsin, I didn't really necessarily know that I was traveling through St. Nazianz, but you'd see signs, St. Nazianz 5 miles that way, St. Nazianz 6 miles that way, whatever. So the name was very familiar to me. When I was younger, as a teenager, I would travel with my sister. So we're going to go back to music and going to shows and stuff like that. I would go see an Elvis impersonator.
Okay.
Huge Elvis fan, at any rate.
Yep.
Here's why it ties in. We would drive through this part of Wisconsin to get to where we were going. And I specifically remember passing this location and looking off in the distance and seeing, I used to call it the nunnery because I didn't realize it was a seminary.
Okay.
And the reason why I called it the nunnery was because the feelings that I got from that location had to do with nuns.
Wow.
And the visualization that came to me involved abuse. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I thought that I was creating a movie in my head. I had a whole frickin' plot line. But in retrospect, I think I was actually picking up on some of the odd energy there and realizing the abuse that went on, not only with the nuns, but the students as well. And I mean, I can't tell you anything specific that went on there. I can just tell you in general, the energy of that location is spooky as fuck.
I would love to go check that out. And it's funny that you mention that because a lot of times, and you know that I know that you're more than just an empath. You're a very strong empath. You're a healer empath.
I'm a special empath. That's what I am.
You're very special. You're very special,
For $15.99
Todd.
right now, I'll tell you what you're thinking.
But I also think that you are claircognizant as well.
Claire Huxtable?
You're
Am I
not
Claire
Huxtable. You're claircognizant.
Damn.
But
I think she had a lot of money.
She was
Claire
great.
Huxtable.
She was great. But I do think that, and that what you just described is what happens to me. I sometimes think I have a movie in my head because things will just come to me out of the blue, and I can totally relate to that. And I can almost feel your feelings of driving by and having all of that going on in your head. It's freaky.
And I can specifically remember one time, it was the fall of the year, which we're going to be talking about spooky movies in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
There's nothing better than a fall setting to spook you up. And it was fall and the sun was setting. And I remember seeing the building and I remember seeing the cross on the top of the building way off in the frickin' distance because it's not very close to the actual road we were on. You could see it back behind the trees. And just that feeling of fear and sadness and just this underlying bubbling of, I don't know, it was just like, I want to say evil, but I mean, that's really what I got out of it. And in my mind, I'm thinking, I thought I was just coming up with a movie plot in my mind.
Right.
And I really feel now looking back on it, that's not what was going on. I was actually kind of picking up on some of the stuff that went on there.
I don't think you were. I think subconsciously you were taking all of the pieces that were coming to you and putting them together. And that's pretty extraordinary. That's quite a story.
There's actually a really great website. If you want more information on St. Nazianz, they've actually got a little video where they interview people about the location and about the history. If you go to cultofweird.com and look up St. Nazianz, it's Nazianz. A great little video there that you should check out if you want more information about our twisted town this week.
And that's a great point. That's a great point because one of the reasons we do this is to kind of enlighten everyone and show them the other side of towns and encourage you to go look it up and find out more information for yourself. There's a lot of towns and cities out there that have this beautiful, idyllic reputation, but if you dig a little bit, and that's what we want you to do, is dig and think about these things and find out for yourself the other side of everything. It's pretty chilling and it's very enlightening and it's just really interesting. That's why I love Twisted Towns.
Well, you think of the Chicagos and the New Yorks and you know that stuff went down,
right? Because
it's a bigger city. You just don't expect that some of this stuff happened in smaller towns. Well, there you go. The story about St. Nazianz. And the thing is, and who knew back when, my sister and I were traveling to go see an Elvis impersonator that I would see this place and there would be this huge backstory about what I was experiencing.
Well, what's interesting about it, Todd, is that when I knew we were going to reboot this episode, I went onto YouTube and I was looking at some stuff and somebody had put up a quick little video of going into the priest's vault because the doors are open there. you can actually go in there, and his vault is, his grave is in the, what do they call that? Not sarcophagus. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's a gate in front of it. You can't get past the gate, obviously, but you can go in and look, and there's pictures in there and flowers and stuff. And all of a sudden, you hear a bang, and he turns the camera. He pans the camera around behind him, and the door to the vault actually closed.
Right.
And then it cuts off. But a lot of the comments in there were from people who had gone to school there, who had worked there, had visited there. And they said a lot of crazy stuff has happened on that property, all through that property over the years. Few people said nothing. They went to school there. Nothing really happened. But there were a lot of people who said, oh, yes, a lot of stuff goes on there.
And it's so weird to me that I don't care if this guy founded the town. I don't care what his involvement was in the whole thing. To know that there's this kind of shrine to this one priest. It's just fucking weird, you know?
A priest who was a rogue priest who wasn't, we see that a lot in the Catholic religion with saints.
Right.
But we don't see that with, rogue priests. And there are a lot of people who believe that the entire town of St. Nazianz is cursed.
Right.
Is eternally cursed. And lots of bad things happen there. And I just find it really, really interesting and really amazing that so many people come forward now and comment about things that have happened to them there.
It's probably a good thing that you don't live close by, because every weekend would be an excursion.
I'd be dragging you everywhere.
Now, I would know what it felt like to be Dave, and I don't want that in my life.
But you know what? If you lived out here, you'd probably be dragging me around, because there's so many cool places out here in New York, too. Yeah. There's a lot of places. So when you do come out, I know we kind of had to postpone it because of the leg, but when you do come out, there's lots of things that we can actually see that I think you'd really love. Because you're a history person, you're an architecture person, you're a ghosty person, so I think you'd really enjoy some of the stuff we'll bring you to out here.
Yeah, I could live my life just visiting places. Like, if that's all I could do, that's what I would do with my life.
Oh my gosh, that's why I love coming out. I mean, I absolutely, obviously want to come out and see you. That's why we come out.
She doesn't care about me. All she cares about it, she wants to go to Washington Island and see if she gets possessed, basically, is all she cares about. I don't want to see if
I get possessed. We're going to armor up. We're armoring up.
Oh, man.
But Sister Bay will be great. No bad vibes in Sister Bay.
Hopefully. We'll probably get there and find out their stories about Sister Bay, too.
I'll look it up.
I was just going to say,
I'll be ready.
That's what she's going to do next. I had to open my fucking mouth,
We'll be prepared.
We will go. So we will go see Canaan Island Lighthouse, though, for sure.
Yes,
right?
Without a doubt. Very excited about that. I love lighthouses. I'm a lighthouse person.
Yep,
everywhere we go, we have to see a lighthouse if we can. So it should be really cool. Very fun.
All right. Guess that's going to do it. You're going to do your spiel?
Yeah, let me do my spiel. Make sure you like our Facebook page, The Sandy and Toddcast, and join our group, Stay Weirdos, Friends of the Sandy and Toddcast. We have a lot of fun in there. Safe space, place for you to share openly your thoughts, opinions, humor, sarcasm, everything you can imagine. It all goes in that group.
I thought you were going to say sarcophagus again.
No, I changed direction real quickly. And we also have a page called the Empathecary Podcast. Todd and I have a little side project, one of many, called the Empathecary Podcast. If you are an empath, or if you are a friend, a family member with someone who is an empath, this might help you in understanding exactly what empaths live with on a day-to-day basis. And we also have another side project called Mindgarden Media. We're starting to pick up a little steam now. We actually edit, produce, and consult on podcasts. So if you are ever in the frame of mind that you might like to try a podcast yourself, but you're just not sure what you want to do and how you want to do it and how to get there, just let us know. And you can like that page as well. It's Mindgarden Media on Facebook. And don't forget to make sure that you follow us and subscribe to us on all the platforms where you find the Sandy and Toddcast.
Is that it?
That's it. That's all I got for you this week.
All right. A couple of great podcasts coming up in the next several weeks. Be aware of that. We may have a couple of live casts lined up for you as well, as we're getting closer and closer to the end of season 4.
Yeah, I can't believe it's going as fast as it is. And we were already planning things for season 5. So it's going to be a really fun summer.
Which, knowing us, none of it will come to fruition. So
probably not. And one of my big hopes is that we can do something live while we're out there in Oshkosh. That should be a lot of fun.
Maybe we can do some stuff. And I know the internet's not great up there, but we should definitely film some stuff while we're up on Washington Island. What do you think?
Without a doubt. There's so many places I want to go up there, like all the stuff that I saw on your show I wanted to. So I don't know, we may be eating, drinking, doing all kinds of things for 24 hours at a time, but we'll fit it all in.
We'll bring the cameras with us. We'll document it, all right?
It should be fun.
All right,
guys, thank you so much for joining us, and we really look forward to seeing you again next week.
Till next time, bye.
Bye.